Hello and welcome to Doug and I's Exercise 230 Skill Acquisition Program. The skill we're focusing on today is a jump shot in basketball. So this skill can be classified as both open and closed depending on the environment. In our program, the skill classification is closed because there's no external factors changing the variability of the skill. The jump shot is also a discrete skill as there is a clear beginning and end, as well as classifying it as a gross motor skill, as it requires major muscle groups to activate in order to successfully complete the skill. Now, within basketball, inter-try variability is high during the game, however low during shooting drills throughout the program. Now, our participant is an adolescent boy. He's highly motivated. Now, he's in the cognitive stage of learning, so he has a base understanding of the skill. However, he's never participated in proper training or development. Has beginner and surface level knowledge of the rules and how to play due to playing with friends. He currently hasn't progressed the skill. Attractor basin is shallow, so he can easily break any habits or bad movements. Now, he wants to join the school team in the next month, and he's highly motivated to become a better shooter.
I'll now take you through our approach, specifically what we did in the 4 weeks of training, including how we evaluated success. The top-down theory was utilized in the first and second week in combination with segmentation and simplification, as the learner is currently in the cognitive stage of learning and we didn't want to overload them with too much stimulus. This was a very progressive style of learning, with week 1 being specifically designed to coach form, with week 2 as an early progression. With week 3, we had a continuation of the top-down approach that we used throughout weeks 1 and 2, with the focal point being on error observation and feedback to optimize the learner's retention. We wanted to move from a body stable towards a body transport drill, slowly introducing speed and tactics. We wanted to allow the learner to self-assess with the use of guided questions as well as augmented feedback in the form of videos. Now for week 4, we moved from the top-down to a bottom-up theory, and we utilized this through the addition of an object and a defender. And the rationale behind why we decided to use the bottom-up approach was simply to change the environment to simulate in-game factors that the learner will face as part of the progression from a static to dynamic environment. We manipulated the environmental and non-regulatory conditions to allow for this progressive learning. So, how do we evaluate success? This was through 2 tests, a retention and a transfer test. For the retention test, there was a test held on the final day and 1 month prior, and this was in a 20 shot from the free throw line. We'll use this to determine whether the learner has kept the skill. For the transfer test, this was designed to test whether improvements may be transferred from one other performance situations to another. This was in a game of darts. Reinhoff and colleagues state that basketball players typically have greater accuracy in darts. Now, as you can see, this is our 4-week program featuring 2 drills per session and homework to be completed in between sessions. Now I'll let Ben take you through the first and second week.
So in week 1 here on our left, we've got drill 1, which is the one-handed triangle shooting drill. From 3 spots around the rim, one-handed shooting from the right side, front of the rim, and the left side. On the right-hand side over here, we've got our beef shooting, focusing on that beef acronym and the correct technique to use when shooting. So in week 1, the principles used were segmentation, so that's the breaking down of a skill or movement sequence to help the learner simplify the task, but it also ensures that each component of the skill is being learnt correctly. The beef drill is a prime example of segmentation, as it breaks down the skill into different components and is represented to the learner in an easy-to-remember acronym: balance, elbow, extension, follow-through. The intent of doing this is to allow the learner to form a base skill level of understanding of how to correctly perform. Simplification was also used as a principle. It highlights the importance of reducing the level of difficulty associated with the learning. And in week 1 of the program, the learner is presented with 2 easy shooting drills from the basis of the technique, but also aim to remove all external factors that may influence performance of the skill. Now the research to inform this, in week 1 of the program, an emphasis was placed on part skill practice. So the part skill practice has been proven to improve learning efficiency for cognitive stage learners. A part skill approach is maintained throughout week 1 and can be seen in the beef shooting drill, where the skill is broken into those segments. Within the cognitive phase of learning, feedback plays a crucial role in retention of the skill. Week 1 of the program is presented in a top-down approach that gives opportunity for the teacher to provide feedback to the learner. So week 2 drills here, week 1 on our left, We've got catch and shoot, so an extension of the beef drill, still focusing on beef, but more of a catch and shoot situation, a little bit quicker. On the right, it's the exact same thing as the one-hand shooting triangle drill, except from further out. So our learner here is from further out on the white line, and from the front here as well, white line, and then vice versa at the end. We go all the way over here to the white line again. So week 2, again, principle is pretty much the same. So segmentation, continuing from week 1, all the drills presented are aimed at reducing task complexity and allowing the learner to again foster correct movement sequences of the skill. Week 2 focuses on keeping the task variability to a minimum, applying the principle of simplification. Very similar drills have been used, so it carries on from week 1 again. And then research behind this. So in line with the social cognitive theory, a top-down approach has been used for both weeks 1 and 2 of the program in order to facilitate the acquisition of the skill. The top-down approach provides on focusing the learner with adequate demonstration of the skill, as well as opportunities to provide verbal feedback on the learner's progression over the first 2 weeks of the program.
I'll now walk you through drill number 1 and 2 for week 3. Drill number 1 being a run, catch, and shoot drill, designed to move away from the body stable and more towards a body transport drill, making it a bit more dynamic, as well as moving away from part-based training to whole practice. Now for drill number 2, this is a 3-point shot as a progression for the 2-point shot. This will also be a 3-point jump shot, in which we'll also teach the learner how to perform. Now for week 3, this is a bit of a transitional period, utilizing whole practice variability, as well as error observation and feedback. Now for whole practice, now the skill's been learned on a basic level in the first and second week, we can now transition the learners to whole practice, as this is best for skills that require high organization and low complexity. As Neil and colleagues determined, whole practice was most beneficial for learning a skill with high organization, whereas part practice for high complexity. Now for practice variability, including variations of the skill is most beneficial for providing adequate stimulus once the learner has grasped the basic movement pattern of the skill. With Landon and colleagues, upon comparison of specific versus variable practice, concluding that variable practice produced greater improvements in retaining a skill over time. Now for error observation and feedback, upon observation of a meaningful error, when necessary, we used guided questions paired with augmented feedback in the form of videos to allow the learner to self-evaluate without being explicitly instructed to do so. Now Herbert and Landon also, upon conclusion of our study, stated that pairing a learning model with augmented feedback provided significant effects for learning a skill. I'll now walk you through drill 1 and 2 of week 4. And for the first one, it is a simple screen, dribble, and shoot. This is performed both on the right and left side in repetition. The reason for this is to add an object and utilize the bottom-up theory to its fullest to represent an in-game scenario. Now for drill number 2, similar to the first, another in-game scenario with a passive defender, catch, and shoot. Now for the final week, we utilize whole practice, error observation, feedback, and variable practice, similar just to the previous week. However, this week we use the bottom-up theory, utilizing objects and environmental change to elicit progression of the skill. With the defender used to simulate in-game external pressure the learner will be faced in the current weeks. The screen that we utilized was also to combine the skill into practice in a serialized manner as expected of a player. We also had the additional test of the 20 free throw shots, and that was used in the transfer test. Thank you for watching.